Hello and welcome to this lecture of the Holy Season. In this lecture, we're going to present 3 different messages from Lantos with a lot of wonderful information and some instructions for us on what we're going to be doing during the Holy Season and moving into next year with the Global Sacred Sound sessions. Let's start with a message where Cindy had asked Lantos if he could speak more about the benefits, the specific benefits for each person in participating in the Global Sacred Sound sessions. These are those sessions that we're doing Monday through Friday evenings, and then we're adding one on Saturday morning, and we do the big one on Sunday morning as well with everyone. And people all around the world participate in these sessions. You enliven your personal sacred sounds using your sacred sounds pendants and the super water cell, superstar cell. You know the ones. Those global sacred sound sessions. Cindy asked Lantos if he could speak about those benefits and the importance of that. And here's what Lantos said. Signing up for unison. Signing up for life. For life. What life? All life. It is so delicate. Life is precious, yet it is fragile. Life is fragile. Its existence relies upon nourishment. Even a gentle breeze can blow it away. Days, even 1 week, the body cannot sustain without nourishment. It is the same, like this, the same for all forms of life. The great and mighty elephants, they are not self-sustaining. They too must seek nourishment, water, food. The tiny ant, he too is in search of that which can satisfy. It is the search for that which can sustain life. All forms unite in this process. However, there is another layer for consideration when considering life. It is the layer of spirit. While spirit is a factor for all forms in creation, only some blessed forms, have the ability to elect to nourish the spirit. Do not be misled into believing that the layer of matter governs the flow of life. The layer of matter is the expression of the layer of spirit. When we put clothes onto the body, we cover the layer of skin. Others look and see the jacket moving, the shoes walking. If they do not know the inner reality, they may think that the shoes carry and direct the person within. Like this, the bones, the tissue, these must be attended to. And just as we put the clothes into the washer and refresh them for wearing again, the cells must be refreshed, nourished, cared for. Yet, it is not this layer which governs the life. It is not. What is it which allows us to determine who is moving what? How do we know that it is not the shoes which are moving the body? Knowledge. Without knowledge, we may easily conclude through observation that the shoes carry the individual. Knowledge. With knowledge, one places greater importance upon the individual and not upon the shoes. Like this, the layer of essence, or spirit, governs the body. The body, like the shoes, responds to the dictates of the inner essence. Personal essence. It is a finer layer of existence. And like the jacket and the shoes, the body clothes the inner personal essence. To wash the shoes is not enough. Each layer requires attention. One eats the food and drinks the water to nourish the layer of the body. When the body is hungry, the stomach growls. This growl produced by the stomach alerts the individual that nourishment is required. It is the signal issued by the physical layer. Each layer produces signals which indicate that attention is required. There are many signals which are issued by the layer of essence, the finer layer. One is ease. Ease in life. Greater ease, greater sense of balance. These are signs of a well-fed layer of essence. Dis-ease, discontent, distress. These are signs of a hungry layer of essence. How then do we nourish the spirit, the layer of spirit? We feed it. And just as we offer some time daily to the process of preparing and eating the food, we offer some time daily to the process of feeding the layer of essence. The substance which is most precious, most nourishing to this layer of essence is Ganlu, Amrita, the sublime nectar of life. The recipe for the production of Ganlu has been sought after throughout the ages. Dear masters of unison, you hold the long-sought secret to the production of Ganlu. It is the enlivenment of the sacred sounds of creation. Although there are storefuls of food, so many possibilities, the individual selects specific foods, ones which offer a beneficial connection. There are individual preferences. While any of the food in the market will provide a degree of value, if foods are selected properly, specific ones will bring greater value. In this way, the benefits are maximized. One does not necessarily have the time or ability to eat all of the options. Instead, one is selective. Enlivening any of the sacred sounds will bring nourishment. However, specific sets are selected to maximize the benefits for the life of the individual, to maximize the production of Ganlu, nectar. Just as one would not starve the body, one should not starve the sublime essence, the master operator of individual existence. Now, there is another aspect to consider, a very significant element. We have realized the influence from an individual perspective. There is a global, even universal, aspect to view when we consider the performance of the sacred sounds. We do not live in this existence alone. There are great numbers of lives all around, lives which we will meet in this existence and lives which exist without our meeting. There are those lives which have come before and those which will come after. It is most important to realize that all life is nourished through the enlivenment of the sacred sounds. This means that our performance not only feeds our own layer of essence, but on this level we are intimately connected with the essence of life in all forms of expression. One may say to miss a meal is of no concern, but ask a mother if she neglects to feed her children. The answer is a clear and most certain no. At times, the individual may neglect a personal meal, but this same individual will adhere to a schedule for the feeding of the adored animal companion. One may often do more for others when placed in the role of responsibility. Now consider this role. Only a handful of individuals on earth have received instruction in the sacred sounds. Only a handful have acquired the precious pendants and the supercells to supplement these sessions. It must come to the attention of each individual who has been blessed with the greatest fortune of receiving this highest teaching, that with this knowledge comes responsibility. Responsibility to all life, all forms of living, as well as to the blessed planet, the World Mother herself. Although this knowledge is as old as creation, it comes to us now in its infant stage, in its earliest form of existence. And like the mother's responsibility to the newborn child, we are the caretakers of this precious teaching before it has matured, before it has spread globally. We must understand that we are the ones capable of feeding all others. Creation emerges in pairs of opposite values. We have seen this with the spin keys. Waxing emerges with waning and full. Full emerges with itself. Two values of full, fullness of all and fullness of nil. Opposite values share a deep connection with each other, a profound bond. The East Gate shares a connection with the West Gate of knowledge. The seed of unison is intimately connected with Mount Kailash. Profound connections, each supporting the other in energy and in form. When one is weakened, the other wilts. When one is strengthened, the other blossoms. With the rise of the value of Mount Kailash, through the blessed ceremonies of nectar at Mount Kailash, we see the energy flowing to form the permanent seat of unison for Earth. One seat, one location, to bring into balance the energy for Earth, for all life forms on Earth, for the blossoming of the World Mother, for all life. This is the seat of unison. East Gate, West Gate, Mount Kailash, seat of unison. Mount Kailash is ancient, rising in the highest mountains. The seat of unison must be established on new land, young land. Its location must touch the waters of the great ocean. Just as Mount Kailash is a location of great spiritual significance, the beloved seat of unison will become a great site of pilgrimage. From here, knowledge flows. Waves of unison flow. Mount Kailash and the seat of unison. Once this connection is established, a great shift will occur in the alignment of energy for Earth, the nervous system of the World Mother. Nectar will flow. Waves of nectar will be generated at Kailash, and unison will carry this nectar around the world, feeding the oceans and lands, nourishing the animals, plants, and peoples of Earth. It may sound fantastic. This may seem unattainable. Consider the most ancient texts, the most ancient knowledge preserved on Earth. All speak of the sacred influence of specific locations and connections which exist between certain sites, and the super, even unimaginable powers contained within these sites when activated. Aspects of knowledge have been lost over millennia. The teachings of the great masters who have walked this earth have been lost, owing to the nature of time. Now, the wave of unison rises. It is a wave of energy, a wave of knowledge, a wave of purification to restore balance to life. All life. It is attainable. The truths contained in the ancient scriptures are emerging. We receive now clearly the knowledge which was lost for millennia, and it is now time to establish the seat of unison to complete the physical connection of superconductors for Earth. At this time, we will invite all of our dear masters of unison to participate in daily sessions of unison. Now, As we move to establish the seat of unison, completing the fourth seat of energy on Earth, we will establish 4 branches of unison techniques. The first branch is that of the individual sacred sounds. These sounds are performed for the individual life. We may call this the society branch. The second branch of unison is for animal life, the blessed creatures of the world, pure and innocent expressions of the source of creation. This set of sounds will be offered during the holy season course of nectar. The third branch of unison is for the lands of earth. These sounds have been taught as the world sounds. The fourth branch of unison is for the waters of earth. These sounds will be offered during the holy season. 4 branches of unison. We must employ technology. We must allow the signals which travel around the world to offer assistance. 4 branches of unison. And here, Lantos gave us some of the technical information for how we're going to do this. He said 2 coordinators for each branch. Coordinators may come from different time locations. Therefore, each coordinator may govern 1 time session. Our beloved Director of Unison will be one of the 2 coordinators for the first branch, the branch of the individual sacred sounds for society. The second branch, the branch for the creatures of earth, will likewise have 2 coordinators to establish the weekly time schedule and oversee the accumulation of a group. Each coordinator is given the responsibility of growing and nurturing their group, expanding the participation in their weekly session. We shall locate 2 coordinators for each of the branches: society, creatures of earth, lands of earth, and waters of earth. Like a mother, it is the responsibility of each coordinator to feed and nourish the branch. So you see, when he gives us a job, he usually tells us a little bit of information and then tells us to go and do it, even though it may be an enormous job. So that was how he let us in on this idea that we were going to have the new branches and we have to get everyone involved. Lantos continued. Beginning in this holy season, each day we will offer 2 sacred sound sessions for society, times for the performance of the individual's personal set of sounds. These sessions will be monitored and promoted by the coordinators for the society branch. In addition to these sessions, each additional branch will offer 2 times each week for the performance of the sounds of their branch. By offering 2 times, participants from around the world may find a time convenient to participate. The coordinators may employ technology to assemble a large group with growing interest in weekly sessions. Treatments on the photos are only given during the individual sessions of the first branch. That's the one we've been doing. Each Master of Unison may participate with the daily individual sessions of the first branch, and our dear Masters may select an additional branch for participation each week. It may be that the Master enjoys the waters of the earth and wishes to focus the blessings in this direction. It may be that the Master holds a deep appreciation for the gentle creatures of earth and therefore wishes to focus the flow of upliftment in this direction. Whatever the affinity, the Master will participate in the weekly session of the branch as well as in the daily individual sessions. By the way, let me just say this. Cindy asked Lantos after this message if it was okay for you to be able to participate in more than one of these branches. Let's say you wanted to participate in all of them, the waters, the lands, and the creatures. And he said, yes, that was fine. So even though in this message he said you may choose 1 additional branch, in fact, you may choose all of them if you would like. Lantos continued. In this way, each week, the creatures, the lands, and the waters of earth receive an influx of energy, a blessed wave of unison. This, dear ones, is the blessed responsibility of those precious ones who have received the sublime teachings of unison. Dear wave droplet, and here Lantos is addressing Cindy directly because he calls her wave droplet. You perceive the waves of life, the wave of creation. One droplet, the one which passes in and out of the great wave. This droplet perceives the process of creation. With this awareness, you have located the permanent seat of knowledge, the seat of unison, global unison, the stable seat of unison. Now we will move to establish the counterpart to Mount Kailash, the superconductor of the mighty mountains, by securing the permanent protected lands for the superconductor of the great ocean, the seat of unison. Very good. Yes, it is very good. From the lands of unison on the shores of the great ocean, the coordinated waves of unison may be issued to all life on earth. The most precious substance, Ganlu, nectar will flow, nourishing the world, restoring balance to all forms of life. This is the role of this age. In this age, balance will be restored. Nectar will emerge. Very good. Many blessings. So we see, well, of course, the obvious, the instruction of additional branches for the Global Sacred Sound sessions. So we have the first branch, the branch for society. This is your personal sacred sounds. Then we have 3 new branches: creatures of earth, lands of earth, waters of earth. And you have the ability to enliven any and all of those each week. And of course, Lantos began that message speaking about the benefit, the fundamental benefit to doing this, nourishing your spirit, your personal essence. And the idea that when you do this at this fundamental layer of existence, the layer of your personal existence, your personal essence, you are intimately connected with all other life forms on earth through their layer of personal essence. And that means that when you enliven, when you nourish your layer of personal essence through the enlivenment of your personal sacred sounds and the participation in the Global Sacred Sound session for your personal sacred sounds, when you do this, you nourish everybody. You nourish everyone's layer of personal essence. It is a tremendous responsibility and a tremendous blessing, a great honor that we've been given to be able to have such an influence on everybody else and everything else. That's the importance of that message that Lantos gave. Now, Lantos has spoken about Ganlu, Amrita, the nectar of life, the nectar of bliss. Lantos has spoken about this many different times. He uses those terms interchangeably. Ganlu, Amrita, nectar of life, nectar of bliss. Cindy asked Lantos, what would be the role of this seat of unison, the Global Unison Center? And Lantos gave a message that focuses on the nectar of Amrita, the nectar of Ganlu, the nectar of life. He said the role of the role of the Center for Global Unison is to be the wellspring of nectar for life on earth. Through the coordinated support of the gates of the East and West, and with the inherent bond of fullness which exists between unison and the mountain Kailash, the 4 centers of unison function to produce the precious nectar of Amrita globally. Daily performance of the sessions of sacred sounds are issued from this central hub of resonance, generating coherent phonics, which broadcast throughout the world's great oceans, washing over the lands of earth and absorbing into the forms of all living beings. Nectar is the most precious substance in creation. Now, it is time for the earth to enjoy these ongoing waves of precious Ganlu. It is time to relieve the centuries of stress placed upon the lives of the natural creatures and on the existence of the beloved expressions of the World Mother. It is time to complete the physical assembly of the great superconductor out of which flows the sublime nectar of Amrita. The center of global unison is the wellspring of nectar for Earth. Just as the hot spot of lava passes under the Earth's surface, undetected on the outer layer, in time the hot spot surfaces again, erupting in a new location. We may say that there exists a natural structure for the flow of nectar for Earth. Like the periodic flow of lava, which generates new lands, in time, the flow of nectar rises to purify the forms of life and the expressions of the world mother. Existing first in its physical expression at Mount Kailash, for eons, this structure of flowing nectar has been contained within the belly of the world mother, remaining unexpressed on the surface layer of Earth. The purifying influence of the actions of light by our blessed masters of the light and by great individuals of light around the world have opened the connection which flows between Kailash and this new surface of Earth. As this surface formed, it held the possibility to receive the flow of nectar from Kailash. Our activities over the past decades have purified Earth's form to the extent that the lands and waters have been awakened, preparing for the flow of nectar. In the ceremony of nectar at the beloved mountain Kailash, the flow of nectar was reintroduced for Earth. Kailash is the old, the ancient receptacle of nectar. This ancient, sacred receptacle holds the recipe for the production of Ganlu, Amrita. During the ceremony of two fullnesses, the Master of Bliss re-enlivened the production of nectar at this great and holy mountain. Now this flow of nectar is seeking to surface again for Earth. There exists an underground connection. It is not technically under the ground, but we may use this term since the connection lies beneath the surface layer of form. It is similar to an underground tube of lava. In this case, it is a tube of the precious subtle substance of nectar, which was generated during the great enlivening ceremony of nectar at Kailash and now awaits the establishment of the newly formed sacred site, the opening of the Center for Global Unison, the modern wellspring of nectar for Earth. This new land of Earth is pure. It exists in the proper location on the great ocean and is now the structure through which this sublime nectar may flow. The old and the new, the ancient and the modern, both will continue their role in generating nectar for Earth. The great mountain Kailash is the receptacle. In this word, receptacle, one sees that it is produced, but owing to its age, it does not regularly flow outwards into the environment of Earth. The new land, the wellspring of unison, will generate waves of flowing nectar for Earth. Both are required. The ancient one generates the substance and maintains the recipe, while the modern site simultaneously produces the nectar through the coordinated performance of the sacred sounds and becomes the outlet for the nectar to flow. This sacred bond between Kailash and unison will be established as the sacred sounds take up their seat and begin their daily function at this newly birthed, youthful, pure expression of the world mother. Surrounded by the great waters of the magnificent ocean, the pure influence of the sacred sounds spreads. Nectar flows. This is the role of the Center for Global Unison. So we have a better understanding, a better idea of this that Lantos calls Ganlu, Amrita, the nectar of Amrita, the nectar of life, the nectar of bliss, and how it's going to be flowing throughout the earth, nourishing everything. It is the most sought-after substance in all of creation. It is the most nourishing, supportive substance for every layer of life. And this concept of benefiting the world mother. Lantos spoke about this in our next message. It's a wonderful, encouraging, inspiring message about what we are doing for the world mother. And when I say we, I just want to make sure you understand I mean you. I mean each one of you. Because all of us together, this is what we are doing. This is what we've been doing for many years. This is what we've been working for. So when I say we, and when Lantos says we, he's meaning all of you. Cindy asked Lantos if he could give her the sounds for water, the personal sacred sounds for the waters of earth. And Lantos said this: yes, the first droplet is the song of the deep. In this droplet we locate the inception of the great waters of life. The great ocean brings forth life just as the milk of the mother conveys life for the child. The great waters are the milk ocean of the world mother, nourishing all. One droplet follows as the education. The great is found within the small. Love is enlivened through the droplet of harmony. Nectar winds and flows, opening channels, dissolving obstacles. And the droplet for health is the great celestial serpent, the coiling form of initial rotations. In these droplets, the oceans and the great life within are purified, balanced, awakened to their highest form. The connection between the mountain Kailash and the young lands of the center of global unison is completed through the forces which join the waters of the holy lake with Amrita Bay. Very good. The center of global unison is the active opening for the central column of essence for Earth. Earth's core of essence flows between the two sacred opposite values. One pole of this radiant energy core, the core of Chi for Earth, is manifested on the material plane as the ancient mountain of Kailash. The opposite end of this vital core for Earth emerges now as the infant lands of unison. Millions of years ago, Kailash formed. In its youth, it generated a great abundance of nectar for Earth. Nectar flowed freely. With its precious essence, life flourished and evolved. The mighty Kailash became known as the seat of energy, the center of essence for Earth. All material form is subject to time. Over time, the role of Kailash remains as the great anchor of light. Yet, clothed in its ancient form, the pure flowing nectar has subsided, and now Kailash must be precisely stirred to flow. Many factors are involved in stimulating the flow of Ganlu at Kailash. Only at particular, we would say sensitive, moments in time does this great superconductor engage, offering up noticeable amounts of the precious substance. Nectar turned within the core of Earth, retreating from its outward flow. Earth has been without this great flow of nectar for many thousands of years. Now, the opposite pole of this core of essence has emerged. The flow of nectar is re-enlivened through the newly formed lands of unison bordering the great ocean. This young land is sacred. Even on the physical layer, it is recognized for its value to life and is preserved. But its true value rises as the center for the sacred sounds, the primordial sounds to bring nourishment to all forms of life on Earth. From here, waves of nectar will flow. Through the coordinated sessions of unison, the great ocean carries the waves of nectar around the world. Nectar flows on the unseen, subtle currents, permeating the lands, nourishing all creatures, enriching all life. You have tasted this nectar. Now consider waves of this most precious substance flowing in abundance. With this, the establishment of this opening of Earth's core of essence in this designated location, the tides of time will realize the shift from decline into ascension. Ancient Kailash will again activate, enlivened by the activation of its polar companion, two great superconductors of nectar for Earth. And just as the mighty Kailash has attracted many seeking the precious blessings of nectar, so too will this great center of global unison be a holy site renowned as the fountainhead for the precious nectar of life. And as individuals around the world participate with the global sessions of unison, the nectar generated at the center of unison will flow on the subtle currents of the body of Earth, just as the veins carry the blood to all systems of the body, nourishing all limbs, all organs, all tissues. The organs need not visit the heart to receive the blood. The heart pumps, and the vital substance flows to all parts. Though the animals do not visit the holy center of unison, they too receive the blessings. Though the people around the world do not visit the beloved center, they too receive the nectar. Like this, all are nourished. This is the plan, one may call it the design or destiny, for the revitalization of the body of our beloved World Mother. She has given of herself, sustaining life for thousands of years as the supply of nectar decreased. As nectar flowed less and less, the need for life to feed off of her precious physical form grew more and more. She has sustained life at the expense of her physical form, giving freely, even as numbers of children have expanded. Now, we must secure this land, the unison center, activating the flow of nectar to restore the balance of life, satisfying the needs of all forms of life, and replenishing that which was drawn from our beloved Mother during these many ages. Throughout time, the Holy Scriptures have sung the praises of the role of the mountain Kailash. Now, the infant lands of unison will join the records as the great generator of the pure essence of nectar, restoring balance to life and returning vitality to Earth's precious form. Many blessings. What a beautiful message. And it is so encouraging to see that what we are doing is revitalizing the body of the World Mother. And of course, what we're doing, all of us, is providing a tremendous blessing, incomprehensible blessings to all forms of life on Earth and to the Earth itself. And this is why every single global session, I tell you, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do to help generate the great wave of creation. Thank you for everything you do to help generate these waves of Amrita, these waves of Ganlu. Now you understand the importance of these actions. And of course, we have the new global sessions. We have the global sessions for your personal sacred sounds that take place Monday through Friday evening and then Saturday and Sunday morning. For these, we do need you to make reservations. You need to let us know which ones you want to take part in. And we would love it if you took part in them every single day. We understand that things come up, and even though you've reserved your spot for Friday evening, maybe you had special dinner reservations, or you had to go to one of your kids' games at school, or something like that. We understand that. What Lantos really wants is for you to make these sessions part of your weekly schedule. If you know that you cannot participate on Wednesdays and Fridays, then just let us know that you can't do it Wednesdays and Fridays. But try to make plans to be able to do these global sessions for your personal sacred sounds, the sessions for society, as much as you can, as often as you can, and try to have them be part of your schedule. because like Lantos said, while you're nourishing yourself, you're nourishing all forms of life on earth as well. Those people, those animals, they're dependent upon you and your actions. And then, of course, we have the 3 new types of global sessions, those for the creatures, the lands, and the waters of earth. You don't need to make reservations for those, just participate in them, and it will work. And every week, we'll send out the links for those treatments, those global sessions. Waters will be on Tuesday evening, lands will be on Thursday evening, creatures of earth will be on Sunday mornings. Okay, everyone. We're going to be receiving the sounds for the creatures of earth this coming Saturday. That means that we will not do the session for the creatures of earth on Sunday, because Saturday is when that will actually happen. Then following the next Sunday is when we will have our first Sunday session for the creatures of earth. We're also anticipating getting an important message from Lantos this weekend during the holy season. And with that, I'll certainly provide that message to you. This is a wonderful period of time for the earth. And the holy season is always a wonderful period of time in which new light, new knowledge, new information comes out. And we love getting to share it with you. Everyone, again, thank you for everything you do. Your actions matter.